I think the reason why I started was definitely because of my family. So otherwise I would just not have been introduced to music at such a young age. But the fact that I continued with doing music, my parents didn't expect, actually. They never knew that I would end up having a job as a musician, because that's not a normal thing. I mean, you can make music for fun as a hobby, but to do it professionally is quite a challenge. So the fact that also my brother is now still a violinist, they didn't expect that we would both end up being in a music scene. I remember that there was music every day, everywhere in the house. So it was very much, because it's my parents' job, of course, to play in orchestras. They would be practicing somewhere in the house. We would have different places. Or I would listen to my brother practicing the violin. It would be every day. There would be music somewhere. And they would take me to concerts, of course. So yeah, there was a lot of music going on. And I think they helped me a lot with practicing in the beginning when I was young to kind of build up the discipline. So that really helped, that they understood that you need that kind of discipline to become better and to improve on your instrument. I think maybe the most difficult aspect is that my parents know a lot about music, so they can also be critical about things. So I would always get a lot of comments, and when you are like a teenager, that can be very annoying. But nowadays I can appreciate more and more the fact that I can do a tryout for my parents and I can play through a piece for them and they can help me out with giving me criticism. But I know as a teenager I found that very hard, that they always had comments and they always were trying to have to tell me their opinion about the way that I was playing. My parents never expected that I would end up playing the recorder, because they didn't know a lot about the instrument. They didn't know that it had such a big repertoire. They just thought of it as a maybe starting instrument. Like most people think that the recorder is just a school instrument. But when I had the idea of playing the recorder, I thought, oh, that's maybe nice for her to do something completely different than her parents. So they thought it was a good idea, and I was very motivated. So they immediately saw how much joy it gave me as a child to play the recorder, so they were just happy for me, I think. I started with the recorder in a music school, a public music school, and then I transferred to the conservatory, like the young talent department first, and then I auditioned, and then I got into in the Amsterdam Conservatory, that's where I studied. It was difficult to find competitions that were open to all instruments, because a lot of competitions are for piano or for violin, but for the recorder there's not so many options. So I tried to do as much as possible to gain experience on stage. The most important prize I got was the Dutch Music Prize, which is a state award from the Dutch Ministry of Culture. So that was very special. That happened actually in COVID time, like about 1.5 years ago now. I think in a way an award in itself doesn't mean so much. So it's more the things that are connected to it. So the recognition, often when you play in a competition, there's people in the audience who hear you, who will then invite you for a concert maybe, or you meet other musicians and you start a new collaboration. So it's always the things which come from it. It's not the thing itself. Also, I think competitions in general are mainly for your own development as a musician. So I think I just had a lot of experience with being on a stage. That was the most valuable thing which I learned doing so many competitions. I always hope to give people at least a distraction from their normal life, so that I'm already happy if they forget about all their trouble that they have in their normal life and they can just disappear inside the music. And I think it's difficult to explain the effect of music, because for everybody it's very different. But I think what it can do is it can shift your perspective. So you can start thinking, if you see two people making music on a stage and communicating very well musically, it can inspire you to improve your own relationships in your life. Or if you see people performing old music with a lot of respect and knowledge, it can make you appreciate your own history more. So it's all, I think, yeah, you can take away from it whatever you want, but that's what I hope to give people, is to just a distraction or some kind of inspiration or creative energy that they can take home with them. I noticed that in COVID time, the difference between playing for an empty concert hall with cameras and playing for a real audience is enormous. It makes for me I just cannot make music when there's no energy coming back. So for me, it's mainly the feeling that people are listening that makes me more conscious of my own playing, and that also makes me listen better to what I'm doing. I think this prejudice about the recorder being a school instrument is often very much society that says that, but the children I've played for are often not yet, they don't have this prejudice against the recorder. So it's usually, I really like audiences of children because they're so unspoiled yet. They just listen openly and they like it or they don't like it. And they can be very harsh. You either convince them and they will tell their parents the next day, oh, I want to play the recorder, or they hate it and they will never go back. So they're very honest in their judgment, I think, which I really like about children. So I think there's a huge opportunity for my instrument in trying to get a new generation to be enthusiastic about it. And that's what I also see happening in my own country. There's a lot of young recorder players which I've worked with in master classes or which I see at competitions, which is really nice because they're all passionate about my instrument. So it feels really nice to see kind of the next generation coming up and being part of this history. I am teaching a little bit already. I mean, but I don't have regular students who come every week, but I've only done like masterclass situations. But I really love sharing knowledge, and I also learn a lot from teaching because I have to explain things that I've never really thought about carefully. So I think it's very useful to also make teaching a part of my activities as a musician. But at the moment, I wouldn't have time to have like a class of students that I could really support, because I think you need to be there as a teacher, you need to have full attention on your students. But for the future, definitely, that would be something that I would be interested in exploring more. I think the most important thing as a teacher is that you want to make yourself dispensable, kind of. You want to make your students self-sufficient in a way, because we all need to be, as a musician, in the end, you need to find your own way somehow, in your own way of making music, and in a way that satisfies you. So if you can support a student in that process, I think that's the most important aspect from teaching. But I think another thing that's very important to me is like stylistic knowledge. So someone who also has the musicality or musical intuition combined with the knowledge to back up because in a way you need to be able to explain why you're playing something the way that you're doing it. If I think about my recorder example, that's probably Frans Bruggen, the Dutch recorder player who kind of started the whole, he was basically the founding father of the new history of the recorder in the Netherlands, because his students took over and they have this huge generation of recorder students again. And I studied with one of the former students of Frans Bruggen. But for the rest, my musical inspirations are my teachers in general. My piano teacher, my singing teacher, my recorder teachers that I've had. They all had a really big impact on me in different ways. And for the rest, I'm inspired every day by someone else. I can take inspiration from different art forms, from jazz music, from pop music. So it's really nice because I think it never ends, all the places you can get inspiration from and be inspired by. So for the upcoming season, I will be, of course, busy with the Echo Rising Stars tour. So touring through, it's now, I think, 17 different concerts in different European cities. So that's really exciting. And I'm really looking forward to visit all those places. Some of the cities I've been before and some I've never been. So that's really exciting. And I will also be doing some recitals in my own country, in the Netherlands. And for the rest, I'm busy with the preparation for my next album, for Decca Classics. So we're now discussing the repertoire, and probably the recording will take place this year. So that's also a large project that I'm busy with at the moment. I never like to think too much about the far future because I'm always afraid that if I say it out loud, it will not happen. But I have a lot of dreams that I would love to have my own festival, for example. I would love to have maybe my own ensemble, a group of musicians around me, and we could record together and do interesting projects. But I can notice also when I'm here that people have some kind of strength in them very much. And I think it's maybe because of the history or because of the culture or combination of things. But I can definitely feel with every person that I meet here that there's a certain type of just, strength or conviction. So I think that's maybe an important aspect why I also love playing folk music, because there's something very authentic always in it, whichever culture it's from. Sometimes I've been a bit disappointed in the fact that I am from the Netherlands, because we don't have, I was always a little bit jealous of this Hungarian history of that's very much connected with music. But I guess in being a musician, it's also nice to let yourself be inspired by things that are different than your own culture. So that's what I love to do, to kind of make it my own from different countries and different music styles.
saper che cos'è amore, io dirò che non sia se non ardore, che non sia se non dolore, che non sia se non timore, che non sia se non furore. Io dirò che non sia se non ardore, chi desia di sapere che cos'è amore. Chi mi domanderà s'amor io sento, io dirò che il mio fuoco è tutto spento, che io non provo più tormento, che io non tremo né pavento, che io men vivo ognor contento, che io mi nel fuoco è tutto spento, chi mi domanderà s'amor io sento. Consiglierà che io debba amare, io dirò che non può più sospirare, né temere né sperare, né avvampare né gelare, né languire né pennare. Io dirò che non può più sospirare, chi mi consiglierà che io debba amare. Chi d'amor crederà dolce gioire, io dirò che più dolce amor fuggire, né piagarsi a suo desire, né tentar suoi sdegni e ire, né provare il suo martire. Io dirò che più dolce amor fuggire, chi d'amor crederà dolce gioire.
I'm so sorry we didn't prepare a second encore. But I'm going to play on my favorite recorder. We're going to play one movement from the Couperin, the last Forlan. It's like a peasant dance.